So good evening, everyone. So here I have Aid from Birmingham, and Aid is a tech CEO. So he has a lot of huge experience in technology, and he's been developed a lot of solutions, scalable solutions, worldwide. And so Aid is also build productivity-based 360-degree applications in a SaaS product, and Aid can talk more about it. And we have Terry here. Terry was, managing director of a few companies and built multi-million revenue-making businesses from scratch. And so Terry is a live example for that age is just a number, and anyone can, any part of the world can be able to build B2B SaaS products and scale it much faster. And we do have Dr. Bhaskar, is surgeon by background, and he's a tech CEO as well, and helping a lot of startups and scale-ups worldwide on giving manpower, methods, money, and materials to scale up their businesses. And we do have Karthik. Karthik is from ex Big Four, and in his previous experience, he has built multi-million dollar systems. One of his recent systems, which he built for a $20 billion company for some of the key initiatives, Walt Disney, McDonald's, what's not. So Karthik is here. So yeah, I'll post my first question, to start the conversation in the great evening to Aid. So Aid, recently we've been to Lisbon as well. We had a good chat. So how do you feel the startup sense? What's your feeling?
So really positive, actually. So Web Summit was in Lisbon, 70,000 people there from mostly Europe, although some other places around the world. Incredibly lively, thousands of startups there. And you can kind of see people are doing well in Europe. So there are companies like Lovables and so on who are based in Europe and growing really well, proving you don't need to be in the US to be successful, especially nowadays. People can work from anywhere in the world. You don't need to be in one place to get the best resources anymore. So yeah, we were really excited by Web Summit. Went down really well. Had a really good time. So yeah, look forward to going to the next one next year.
Yeah, basically, to summarize, right, Silicon Valley is just a mindset, right? And any startups can be built anywhere in the world.
In many ways, yes, but I think you do need some help from kind of government business to have the same mindset. So I think many entrepreneurs do have the right mindset, but they can be hampered a little bit by local government or regulations. So you certainly do need to do some things to sort of open up the mindset wider to be more like San Francisco.
So do you really think, from UK, we can build our own Silicon Valley as well?
I hope so. I'm also in Birmingham. I'm hoping Birmingham can turn into Silicon Valley. You don't have to be in
Manchester
London.
too.
Manchester as well. So I'm really keen that some big tech companies come out of regional parts of the UK and don't have to be focused in London. So there is too much attention on London. A lot of money's in London, but a lot of the talent is not in London. So I'm really keen to build something big and powerful in Birmingham. And I think you guys want to do the same thing in Manchester as well.
Terry, what do you think is the big hairy audacious goal? How do you think from England or from UK? What is your advice for aspiring entrepreneurs on bridging Silicon Valley between UK and Silicon Valley, or what kind of mindset, someone risk-taking mindset, investment mindset? What is your perspective on building another Silicon Valley in UK market?
It's challenging, without a doubt. It's always going to be challenging. But I think innovation exists. So we're talking about Manchester, we're talking about Birmingham, and innovation is there. So that's the key. What do we do with innovation and how we take that? I think the other sort of essential part of that as well is investment. How do you get the investment behind some of that innovation? So if I look at us as a business, so we're in the learning development world, we have a learning platform, it's how do we scale that platform on a global basis? So you're looking at things like localization, because that matters, but we've got this great new world of AI, and what does AI mean in that world? And I think that's shortened some of the development time. It can help us do that. I think it helps with that scaling side of things as well. So I think the whole aspect of the innovation side, the scaling, do we have Silicon Valley in the worlds are changing, and AI has opened the doors up for that.
So, Dr. Bhaskar, you've been frequently traveling to Toronto, San Francisco, and worldwide, investing in a lot of healthcare businesses and advising as well, right? So generally, healthcare is quite complex than other industries, next to finance industries or any military, any kind of systems which is handling sensitive military data. So, so how do you view, the mindset of Silicon Valley from mindset of Manchester, particular?
Um, it's a very good question. So I think from my observation, almost last 2 decades, things are changing towards better in Manchester too. When we started about 10 years ago, we could still sense the appetite for tech investment was not there. So still many investors were quite keen to invest in asset-based investments rather than a tech. Obviously, not many people understand, and also there are not many people, the ecosystem was not there for them to even to support and encourage those who are kind of on the borderline to considering investing in a tech business. Having said that, now things are improving. So we can see the UK business angel network is a bit more established. So because that is the typical investor who could help in the kind of seed and pre-seed space. Obviously, the venture capital and PE, private equity, they come a bit later on. But from our own experience, as a company, Digirite, we interact with 1/3 of startups and scale-ups. 1/3 of our clients are from mid-sized organizations. So one story that is constant across all these startup founders so most of them try to bootstrap their innovative ideas. I think only thing that is not encouraging is so how to support them that very fragile state when they've got this courage to at least step up, but there's not much of help further from there onwards.
That's always a challenge, isn't it? To go from idea, and you develop the idea, and then you need some growth. And that's the hardest time to do that because you need some cash.
Absolutely.
And you're burning through cash very quickly with your development. You know the problems you're going to solve. You know the challenges and that you can overcome with your tech and with your platforms. But how do you do all the other bits outside of the platform? So the sales and the marketing side and the people side, how do we develop those? And once we're on that growth path, we can then scale.
Absolutely,
But I think for many startups, that growth side, just making sure you survive and get beyond survival is a challenge.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it is hard, especially at the moment, that investment is rarely given just to an idea. Really, most investors, you need some sort of traction, so it ends up being a bit of chicken and egg to how do I get traction without that investment? So it's definitely a challenge. I think that's very hard now to get investment with just an idea, and unless you've got a lot of credibility and a track record to do that. So I think that's part of the reason a lot of people end up bootstrapping. And you basically have to run lean and try and do as much as you can with as little expense as possible, hoping you can get help. There is lots of, as you say, there are good ecosystems around Manchester and Birmingham that do offer. So there are ways to do it. We've bootstrapped up to now. We are now looking for growth, but we've been able to build a product, get it into production, get it live with customers just from bootstrapping, which I'm quite proud of.
But it's always looking to that next step, isn't it? You're just wondering when that next point will come. Will we move from the bootstrapping side to we're in growth, we'll get somebody to fund us and investors. And I think you're right. The challenge is people want some proof. So people are not prepared to invest. And almost, if you've got that kind of growth coming in, you might need the investment for other things, but it would have helped at the growth stage.
Quite often once you've got that traction and that growth, you might not need the money.
And then you're looking at equity and other things in your business. So it's a different mindset when you get to a certain point with the business, I think, and that's the challenge from a very early startup. How do we help move and scale people through that whole thing?
And I think differences with Silicon Valley is I think it is easy to get investments at the idea stage, and without traction, I think there's definitely more risk taking with investors in the US than in the UK and probably Europe as well. So that's definitely a difference here. So some more risk taking on side of investors that they kind of want a sure bet or a sure thing every time, and that's just not possible.
So thanks for that, Eden, right? So And myself and Karthik been involved in the recent days with doing a lot of tech DD, technical due diligence for a lot of M&A transactions happens in UK market as well as the Europe. Recently in Lisbon as well. One of the key initiatives on life science was facilitated by Dr. Bhaskar. And so myself and Karthik been doing some technical due diligence. So understanding the difference between Silicon Valley on the valuation side, on the investment side, what we can see from our side is the UK is much focused more on financial due diligence. For example, traditionally in the industrial age, a lot of manufacturing companies, how this been valued, right? First, they've been looking at profit and loss, balance sheet, how long the customer says, what's the Java revenue it generates, what is the net profit. On top of that, they started looking at EBITDA as well. And now, what happens, contrast to that, what happens to the Valley is first they focus more on technical due diligence more than financial due diligence. Because when we do the technical due diligence is not just limited to just the quality of the product, the code quality and the scalability of the system alone, but on the user behavior side. What is your user actually performing inside the app? Whether it's a B2C or B2B, which feature of the application has more stickiness? What is your total, what is your serviceable, obtainable market? How fast you can scale, right? I've been listening to, one of the Silicon Valley-based investor called Ash. He valued Uber 6 billion after a few weeks of time. He been reading news saying, the Uber is valued 22 because he changed from taxi company to logistics company. The scope of the product is much more enhanced, and there has been theory as well where the most of the SF Silicon Valley based companies in New York, they've been not valued based on number of headcount. It's value per head what they deliver as well. So in this modern era AI world, the company's growth based on number of headcount is almost like vanished, because we have a Telegram where there are only 30 employees and the company is valued 30 billion. So every employee is contributing up to 1 billion valuation. So the valuation game, the few things which bothers us changing in UK market, the few things which bothers us as a technical due diligence is when we go and consult someone, when we do the technical due diligence, not limited to the scalability of the system, but looking at the data of the users, in the existing framework of buyer side or seller side on M&A activity, the user behavior is not that much analyzed. And the existing SaaS product has not built in a way. They build certain features to analyze the data as well. And so from the question to Karthik, right, on this note Karthik, right, so you worked and scaled multi-billion systems, you've been architect for bigger systems, Walt Disney, McDonald's, the waste management, all these groups. In your understanding, I know most of your current clients, they come to you after the product which they initially built, it's not scaling or it's not built for success technically, right? What is the key difference you see between something has been growing in Silicon Valley and something which we are developing in Manchester? It's not applicable for everyone, I can understand, but at least from non-technical founders or someone, where they get stuck, how do you see the product, what they lack?
Yeah, first thing is the knowledge, right? So there is always a knowledge gap. So if you take like 20, 30 years ago or even 5 years ago, there is no AI. Information is not available everywhere. Now they can tap onto many information, many knowledge, right? So they want to, it's not about Silicon Valley has all the knowledge and we don't have, we also have the knowledge. But the thing is where to get it, when to tap on it, right? So for example, as you mentioned, the clients coming to us, most of the clients, they want to do technical due diligence, look at the current architecture and see how it is, why it is not scaling, why it is not secure, right? So which means the architect who has done it, he is thinking from developer mindset, right? So we always have to think about secure by design, privacy by design, analytics by design. I mean, any app you do, right? So secure by design is a mandatory thing for any app. So on top of that, we have to think about the scalability, performance and everything. So while building the app itself. So all the developers cannot think like that. So even in Silicon Valley, it's not like all the developers are doing a better architecture, not like that. But there are some people in other parts of the world, even in Manchester, Birmingham, London. So there are very, very well-versed architect who has done great apps, right? So lots and lots of app has been built by them. So they have to think from architecture perspective. They have to approach the architecture considering all the 6 pillars. We say 6 pillars, right? Security, scalability, reliability, performance, all the 6 pillars in mind. So that's how they should think and start building. So right now, even in our company, Digirite, and any company, right? So folks who are coming in, so they're always focusing on completing the app on time and releasing, go live. That's all. I'll complete it and go live. They're not looking at how it will scale. So tomorrow, for example, if Uber has not done a better architecture, right? If tomorrow Uber is onboarding 1 million customer, how it's going to scale, right? So we have to think in that perspective. So any app we build, we have to think in all the 6 pillars perspective, like security, scalability, and reliability. So if we do that, I think it's not only the Silicon Valley, even Manchester or any part of the world can become more successful. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I guess you can also see with maybe the danger of entrepreneurs or people who are starting things off. You want to create things, you look for new functionality, and you've got to solve a problem. Because you were talking about how do you scale and how do you scale with users. Well, you've got to solve those users' problems, and it's very easy to start creating and building functionality in your system that you think people need, or you think this would be good. And so, further to what you were saying, part of that design has to be understanding the pain points that you're addressing. Why are you doing this well? How are you doing it better than the competitors? And what are their views? And staying on that kind of track is an important part of that. Technical, not just building stuff, not just creating more and more code.
Yes.
Even if you're doing that code well, do people actually want that functionality? And I guess you'll see yourself with some developments you do. That can fail. It can fail very quickly because nobody wants to do those kind of things.
But you do need to build on a solid base. It's really hard to add scalability and security afterwards. You kind of do need to build it on a reasonably solid base. And that's kind of the danger now with everyone vibe coding and lots of non-developers building platforms, and some of them take off. And so that kind of art of engineering is not really there, so because you don't necessarily know what you don't know. So there's definitely a danger. I think it's going to get worse in terms of building software that can't scale and isn't reliable and isn't secure. So there's definitely a danger of that. And historically, it's always been a danger because unlike being a lawyer or a doctor, anyone can call themselves a developer or even an architect and build platforms. There's no qualifications. Anyone can do it. So that's why a huge number of software platforms do fail, or projects fail, and platforms don't perform. Because there isn't necessarily that professionalism there in many organisations. So that's always been a danger. And I think that with vibe coding, where anyone can be a developer, it's only going to get worse.
So, hey, so basically, any non-technical founders or anyone in UK market, right? So, because myself and Karthik, we used to discuss all the time about secure by design. We always keep the security and scalability and operational cost efficient. These are some of the pillars we always keep in mind before architecting any product, based on the nature of the business model or what the founder need to achieve. So in similar fashion, right? Being you yourself as build your own application, you being from technical background with huge experience, right? So we just trying to get some advice to the audience who is non-technical founders or even technical people. Sometimes they have assumption that MVP is how fast we can go to market while compromising some vital aspects of security. Sometimes some apps, they are managing personally identifiable information, they're storing the data as well, and what the data breach can cost with the Information Commission Office can enforce a big fines on them, and they're not even aware of data protection officer and other roles of vital security. So what is your view on it?
I think generally my advice is there's lots of ways to get to an MVP, especially with AI now. But I would generally say use the MVP to kind of prove that there's a problem and there's a market and you've got a solution to it. And I was thinking probably 99% you probably want to rebuild the application once you've got to that point and proven the MVP. Most MVPs are probably not going to be good enough to move into production. So at that point, you probably do need more technical help. In terms of that MVP process, you could say you don't necessarily need to worry about that too much. Your biggest, as Terry says, the biggest issue is making sure you've got a good solution to a problem that people want to pay for. And just building software and hoping isn't necessarily the best path. So getting an MVP out, getting something out early, and proving you've got a good solution to a problem is very worthwhile. But take into account there's a pretty good chance you're going to have to rebuild it to properly scale it to make sure it's into a real production environment.
Yeah, so before going to Terry, right, Dr. Bhaskar, I have one vital question, Bhaskar, for you, right? Because even this been running in our mind as well. So when myself and Karthik or many architects, CTO level in Manchester, we do have we do meet in the weekend as well to discuss about how Manchester can be a next Silicon Valley, like how Aid wanted to see Birmingham as a next Silicon Valley, right? What Manchester don't have, what Silicon Valley has, it's a big, questions running in my mind. But before going to that question, so any applications we build for, healthcare and finance industry, you'd say in US market, right, we have Health Information Portability and Accountability Act, HIPAA compliant, and UK we have Data Protection Act, and GDPR compliances as well. Now EUA Act is going to come in the place. So Karthik was telling me that it's Karthik's view, by working predominantly in US market, Silicon Valley and New York. It's Karthik view because you spend most of your lifetime in England. The question is, it's a Karthik thinks any app we develop in any industry, retail industry, e-commerce, they all need to have the similar data production and standards in place as equal to healthcare and finance app. Because if a data breach happens in healthcare and financial based application, the consequences are much more than retail applications. That doesn't mean we can compromise few things in the retail application. Every applications we build need to have similar coding standards, security standard, thinking about the scalability. And if someone has a time pressure in other industries as well, do you think the same vital principles which we follow, which is mandatory to follow, for other industries sometimes it's optional, do you think technically we can compromise on few things and build for other industries which is contrast to healthcare and finance? Or what is your perspective to save some time?
I think there are multiple things here. So from the data protection point of view, individual or the data subject's rights of his data, that is universal. Right? It doesn't matter, obviously, any application, it will have a user or a customer using that. So that means fundamentally, so we have to respect that individual data subject's rights. That's data privacy, confidentiality. It all comes part and parcel of that. So there is no way we can get away from that. Obviously, depending on the sector where the application is going to be deployed, the damage to that particular business, if there's a data breach, is going to be it will vary. So if the data breach has got a lot more sensitive data than financial or health data that within the data category, so then that has got a more value to attach to it. So I don't see any any app developer or supplier or vendor building an application without making sure that data protection is well catered for. So there's no point in building if they're not willing to spend that effort and time to make sure that that element is fully covered. That's one. Next, coming to in terms of very specific to healthcare and financial sector, you will have an additional layer of especially healthcare. You will have personal health information that is even more sensitive. So if the breach happens and if that kind of data is got in the wrong hands, then companies who are in charge, like data controllers, and are responsible. Obviously, they may have a third-party contract agreement with a data processor who might be different within the same territory or outside the territory. Still, the data controller or the organization is still responsible. So that's where this either 4% of their global turnover or up to 20 million is a very hefty fine. So if the business is definitely aiming at a very small revenue size, small part. So then they can, or they like if they are kind of leaning towards making all the shortcuts, thinking that anyway my library is going to be smaller, then that is their headache. But I would say if someone is serious about building something with a long-term view and also probably expanding nationally within any country they start from or internationally, then they need to definitely get this right from day one.
And I found the same with speaking with Kartik. So when we started working with DigiWrite, was for exactly that kind of knowledge, that kind of experience that ensures your product is meeting those 6 pillars, and that you have got security, you have got the scalability, you are doing things in the right way. And to me, that was quite critical. So, you're technical, you've got, and I have some of those things. But being able to come to you and talk that through was critical because the implications are huge.
Huge, yeah.
And the other thing is, as you scale, those problems are only going to get worse. So, that was the bit that I valued when it came to sort of speak with yourselves and how we might take our product forward. And we were at the MVP stage with something, but we moved that beyond the MVP stage to a product that can do that. So my advice would be, find somebody who's got that experience, that expertise to help you get to that stage, because as you say, the ramifications.
So at the end of the day, the value of the business comes from when you develop the trust between the business and your customers and clients. So I think the customers are trusting that their data will be looked after well. And if that is not there, and once the trust is lost, and leave about the penalties from the Information Commission Office or data breaches, but again, just losing the entire business once you lose your trust. So, which takes years to build, and then suddenly because of some shortcomings or short-term thinking, if you mess it up, then your entire business is gone, and then it's very, very difficult to rebuild the trust again. That's a core thing.
Terry, it's a quite unusual thing which can, very rarely can happen in UK market. Like the non-technical founders like yourself do have very good business experience and got exposure to technology as well. Your previous managing, some huge businesses as a managing director. So in this context, Terry, when you approached Kartik, to check on the scalability, there are 2 questions to you, right? And then I go to 8. So the first question is, your existing product, what you built on yourself by directly working with a developer without having a fractional CTO or full-time CTO, you somehow managed to follow and not compromise on some vital principles. Okay, when Kartik first reviewed your technology product, the first impression, he just rang me and said they used multiple tools. It's not monopoly or AWS or Azure based, but the secure by design, it's already there. All the security is there. The coding standard excellence, it's already in place. So how do you manage to achieve this? What is your thought process?
It's a really good question, and it was understanding that we needed to scale this product. So I think that was the understanding that we spent some time with we have in-house developer, as you know, trying to understand how do we do this right from the start. But the downside of that is it takes longer. So it's a little bit like, do we build an MVP, rush that and throw it away, or do we take some more time and build it? And in truth, it took us longer and quite a bit longer to do that and to try and do that well. But I was glad when Kartik said, actually, the design is good, everything's there. So we spent the time to do that, but that did mean without fast tracking with the expertise of somebody like Kartik as the CTO, that you just take that a little bit longer to bring that to marketplace. But it's critical that you do that. So we did some research. We did try and build that in the right way. But if you're not the technical person, you need that expertise. You need the CTO figure to say this is being done in the right kind of, and we'll build for it.
Either it's a technical, CEO like Aid or a non-technical CEO like yourself who take some wise decisions. So I think at some point of time, even Aid have to go out of technology, engineering practice and do more strategic role full time, right? That's how the business evolves. Every business owner, some point of time, everyone is not like Elon Musk, where I be a CEO as well. Most of the SaaS business, the technical founder will evolve to be a strategic business leader as it proceeds. So since we have two kinds of personalities building similar nature of product, addressing similar ideal customers, for complementing products, you both has. So question to you both, first to Aid on, then Terry can answer. So Aid, so what are the filter criteria you have in your mind before you passing your decision making on engineering excellence to the next successor from your side?
That's a good question. So this is my second startup. So the last startup I had to go through exactly that. So I was CTO for a long time. We built the team and team leads and so on. But eventually actually became CEO of that company. So I did have to hand it over. And it is painful. And if you're doing it part-time, you're still kind of half tempted to dabble in code and make tweaks. And that you really used to piss the rest of the night. So I basically had to stop myself touching it. So it's quite a hard journey to go through as a technical co-founder because you love the product and you really want to get involved in it. So it's quite a hard thing to hand over. And it's quite nice doing this startup again because I'm now CTO, I'm building the product. So I'm enjoying that. But yes, in a year or so, I'm going to have to hand that over. And the big thing is finding someone you can trust. So you're not going to find someone who's exactly the same as you. Ideally, you find someone who's better than you, so you can actually trust them with the technology and know they're actually going to be better than you and take it in better paths or directions that you may not be able to do it. Definitely somebody younger than me, so I've been doing this a long time. So people who are now in sort of 20s and 30s, it's very different sort of building software to how it was when I started 30 years ago. So it's a journey you have to go through. I don't think you can do it straight away. I think it's a gradual process of giving more responsibility to the person that you trust who's going to take over, but you do need to find the right person that you know is going to at least do what you can do, hope ideally better than you, and move the product forward. And then you've just got to let them go with it. You can't dabble. I think you can do some level of product management, but you probably don't want to dabble in the code if you're doing it only part-time because you're probably going to cause more problems than you fail. I think Mark Zuckerberg went through this as well because I think he was still playing with the code for a long time in Facebook, and at some point they just told him, no, stop it and don't touch the code. So that's probably the hardest thing, is actually that cut off when the code's no longer mine, it's somebody else who's got to look after it.
So on top of technical excellence, trust is the topmost criteria you have.
There's a whole bunch of things. Getting the right people. It's technical expertise is good, but those skills can be learnt. Mm-hmm. It's kind of more attitude and aptitude that you kind of want. You want people who want to work hard with the right attitude, will get on with other people, will do the right thing. Those are the kind of harder soft skills to find, and that's
people
probably
who
more
challenge.
important.
You actually want some people who come back and challenge you on
For
some of the pieces. So with the UI UX designer, you challenge the view. Is this right? Is this what people want to see? What's the easiest way for people to do some of these? I think encouraging that kind of, is this the right thing? Is it right? Different mindsets. I think if you're prepared to open that as a founder, you can be very set on, these are the things I would like to do. This is the way. But you need to be prepared, as you say. How do we involve the people in the thinking? Because then it expands, and then you get in different.
I think as a product company, you really want technical people who understand you're a product company and you're delivering software for customers and you're solving problems. Many technical guys can be very obsessed by the technology and that's all they care about, and the quality of the code, and are there 3 spaces or 4 spaces and all that kind of stuff. So you really want somebody who kind of can do both, can build good code but also understand what we're really doing is building solutions to problems. It's not software for software's sake.
And the sales and marketing people will have a very different view of the product than we might have of the product, and where we get to. Their view is it's a solution to solve problems and to solve challenges. But is that message right? And can we grow that message? And therefore, what is the future of the product? Mm-hmm. Because what is the future in the marketplace, and what do people need, and what will they need coming down the line?
Because you've got to anticipate that. You really got to build for 6-9 months ahead. You can't build for yesterday's.
We can't wait for that and get there. Some of the AI bits. Many platforms are talking about they are AI enabled, which just means they've actually linked ChatGPT into their platform. Yeah. That to me is not AI enabled. So to do the harder thinking and the harder lifting takes time. You've got to get ahead of that thinking. That's the kind of thing probably we should be doing more than building code and trying to.
So Terry, right? To continue with that. So what is the filtration process you have in your mind while choosing a technology co-founder or CTO or who you wanted to work with? Because you used your existing developer to validate, and he is not architect; he's a developer, but you got a output from him to the architect level, without he being an architect. Okay, that's one unique thing. And second thing is, what are the filters you applied? Karthik might be knowing more because you applied those filters on him to choose whether to work with Karthik. So, and what is your primary filter? What is the advice you can give to any non-technical founders?
I think the difference is when you're not, you've not got the in-depth technical expertise, you need somebody who's done that. And with Karthik, when we were talking through some of those things, you looked at our product, you looked at how we deployed across AWS, you have a lot of experience at how that works, and you're able to look at our product in that multi-dimensional way. And that was helpful because one, it reassured, but two, it says, okay, we can scale this now because Karthik understands, along with the development team in DigiWrite, how we take that further forward. So my thoughts were trying to find a partner who can help us scale this product. So we know we've got a good product. We know it's, in our view, but in a lot of people we've sort of tested with, it's a better product than competitors because it's easy to use, because we've done the heavy thinking to put the complexity behind. So we understood we had something there. But after a conversation with Karthik and the experience, that helped us understand, okay, we can take this forward. There are things we need to do and the things we need to adapt along that way. But also, it was the future view. How are we going to take this forward? So it's not just for now, but knowing that we've got somebody who can work with us as that chops and changes over time. We'll go from thousands of users to tens to millions of users. And it was a confidence level. Your view was confident. Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we can help you do that. And that was the bit that was important, really.
So, Karthik, so you are hiring a lot of engineering talents worldwide, right? You've been doing this 7-8 years by now. So, being part of McDonald's or Walt Disney, the bigger systems. So, how do you manage to achieve from the enterprise standard, right? You obviously, you are helping a lot of startup owners to have that enterprise grade, like for example Terry said, so that the big enterprises can able to let the app pass through their compliances and checklist, right? Like for example, software bill of materials, what standard you use, what library you use, whether that has any legal issues. And so how do you manage to hire people? What filter criteria you follow, get someone onboarded?
So I follow a different strategy. I don't go by the books first thing actually. So I always ask questions. So for example, if you take any normal interview, so people just go prepare some questions. They ask ChatGPT what kind of questions I have to ask in the interview. To me, I'll just open their resume and then ask about their experience, what they have done so far. I don't ask anything apart from the resume, what they mentioned in the resume. And also the next very important thing is they have to have the open-minded, right? They need to adapt to any environment, right? They should be open to learn new stuffs, and they should be culture fit, right? It's not about the skills and experience and not even the communication. They need to have this mindset to learn, right? And mindset to grow. And then they should be culture fit, which means it's not like, because we as DigiWrite, we have people from multiple regions, multiple countries as well, right? We all work together as one mind, which means culture fit is not culturally from any country. Culture fit is culture for the company, right? So the folks whom we are hiring, they should be culture fit. And on top of that, what I feel like Terry and Aid mentioned, so we need to hire someone smarter than us, right? So always hire someone smarter than us. It doesn't mean like they will actually surpass us. That's fine. We'll be proud if they surpass us. That's fine. But I'm saying like So Aid and Terry might have like 5 different things. They're doing multiple things, right, by themselves. So we don't have to hire one person doing those 5 multiple things, but we can hire 3 folks doing those 3 multiple things better than us. So that's how we want to focus actually.
So yeah, Karthik. So for example, right? Let's say we are getting different perspective on what is the filter pure technical person applies. Non-technical founder, but who actually got an input of technical excellence, right? At the high level and the core level developers, because we've been at a knowledge transfer session with Terry's existing developer who is excellent, so who created a quality product from the ground up as well. Likewise, so Dr. Bhaskar basically Aid as well as Terry, they both have B2B solution built and that is scaling up now to the enterprise grade standard, which can bypass any ISO 2700 compliances or SOC compliances, any compliances by keeping this the targeted audience in mind. Okay, even from different background, but they do have a complementary. So and there is a thought process which been even myself running in my mind, that when entrepreneurs like the ambitious entrepreneurs like Aid and Terry who is scaling up the businesses for the value-add audiences, do we need to think UK should be for example, the mindset should be, while developing a business model, it should be the 51st state of United States. For example, India as the 52nd, because these are big markets. If you look at Amazon, so if you look at Google is Google in US, UK and India, but in China it's Baidu. Uber is Uber in US, Uber is Uber in UK, and Uber is Uber in India, but in China it's Didi, So likewise, do you really think as you are investing in a lot of companies worldwide, so what do you think the mindset of the entrepreneur should be? We always need to keep US in the mind from UK while coming up with a business model, because like in Western market, the potential technology use is the same, might have similar challenges.
Yeah, I think so. Nowadays, if you look at the gap in terms of technology usage, is narrowing day by day. So the internet penetration is very high even in the low and middle income countries, and the number of people having a smartphones is almost more than the population in most other countries nowadays. So that means at least the generation Gen Z and the generation before, most of them are digital literate, I would say, at least. And then the demand from them is they want any technology that is there in the West, and equally that they want them as well. So I think for founders, I feel so they have to think it as a global product from day one. The mindset should be. So obviously there will be situations where some of the process might differ from nation to nation or country to country, but at least having that mindset, okay, fine, this is a product, this is a kind of a foundation, so on which almost I'm building something that can easily kind of customizable to various markets by slight fine tuning into various markets. So that way, I feel the businesses would be better equipped. So because rather than fighting in a very concentrated space with various players with the different pricing models, etc., then if you have this kind of thinking, so you might have early openings in other markets, maybe sometimes could be bigger than what you initially envisioned in a local market. And especially like countries like India as well, like it's a huge market, and good that we have a free trade agreement now. So there's a lot of exchanges happening.
I think that's an issue in the UK is often entrepreneurs don't think big enough. I think they just look at the local market. I think US and Silicon Valley definitely think bigger, and they want to build global companies. I think the UK generally entrepreneurs don't think big enough. So I think definitely something in the UK people is be more ambitious, think bigger, think more globally. And if you don't achieve it, setting that kind of stretch goal is a great thing to do anyway, because it will
Yeah.
it might be better.
Yeah, and building that kind of localization features into your product then enables that to go.
Yeah.
So if you've got that localization view, yeah, we can do that. We can do
Yeah,
this product.
yeah.
We've proved it here.
Yeah.
So we can now go and prove it there.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
and it's building it with that thinking in mind.
And the good thing is, recently, after the free trade agreement being signed between the UK and India, and they've opened a new consulate in Manchester, also Indian consulate. I'm going to work with them and start a Manchester India Business Forum, so that we can see how the Manchester or UK-based, Northwest Midland-based businesses, which has got a potential to tap into the India market. And same way, there are a lot more ambitious Indian startups got a complementing products if they want to come over and serve the UK market.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it could be a good way of exchanging at the same time. Both the markets we need to grow. So yeah.
Basically, Aid and Terry, right? You know, Aid has built. There are ClickUp, Monday.com. You know, a lot of Trello board. You know, a lot of tools are scattered into different places. Aid has come up with a beautiful user experience and idea based on its own experience from the industry.
Yeah.
That why can't he build a tool chain replacement between, you know, building a chain between all this product as one single unified product.
Yeah.
You know, similar features, which potentially any, you know, mid-market companies or small and ambitious companies who wanted to grow from the ground up level can able to track the productivity, do the timesheet management, tracking. You know, we've been looking at the product, you know, for some time now. It's very, you know, it has a lot of good features, which has eventually the product has been evolved from the Aid's own pain point of managing the engineering team and stuff. So, and also to complement that, if you look at Terry's businesses, right, one of the big use case of his product, which I can see is potentially that the biggest challenge for any mid-market companies is training the resources. That is one side. On top of that, you know, having that, as Bhaskar usually says, right, knowledge transfer, documenting that SOPs, standard operating procedures, you know, because there are a lot of challenges in the recent era for the startup founders. You hire a people and train them in some unique stuff where we can't that easily go and find the replacement for them. That's where Aid product comes into place to transfer that knowledge and document that SOP, you know, as part of the learning tool, right?
Terry's,
Terry's product. So I let you both, you know, discuss on, you know, why you come up with the pain point, you know, because both are complementing. It's where Aid's business starts and ends, your product begins. You know what I mean? The continuation of that learning and retaining them, keeping them in the flow, and also the standard operating procedures, other training materials, which is vital for any corporates. So
yeah, well, immediately we met, we said, we need to have a chat here.
Definitely complementary.
Because it is that, and I think that's the benefit of one, speaking to yourselves. You've suddenly brought sort of two solutions together, and the thinking that we've got, you know, to try and say, well, how does this solve a bigger problem? You know, and it's always the 1 + 1 = 3. So we can get a lot more out of potentially the solutions together than you know, separate solutions.
Yeah, for sure. We've kind of, it's quite a wide scope what our product does, but there's certain areas where we say that's not our thing. There's better solutions that can do that, which we want to integrate with. Terry's is perfect. So sort of learning management, skills development. We track what people have and what their current skills are, but we haven't put anything that actually develop those skills. We kind of want to manage kind of day-to-day workflows within a business. So, and day-to-day, when you say scheduling a project, you want to know what resources you've got, you want to know what their skills are, you want to know their availability, their experience, have they worked in the right markets. So we have all that information available, but then what we don't have is a process then to develop those people and follow the progression path. So,
and some of that's I think the different knowledge and experience in your business that you can bring to bear then. So we don't want to try and do some of the things. You understand that world, you understand it well, you've got the skills around there, we understand our world well. And so, you know, we're not trying to build these products that are just so big that they become unusable because you're just trying to put every feature and every function. That isn't, to me, that isn't the right way of things. But what we can do is connect systems together to enable an organisation to have the right solution to actually move these people forward.
Yeah, but I think those systems have got to be still reasonably broad. So what you see with a lot of companies is seeing a lot of data on kind of small companies. Often they have more than 80 different systems within one small company, and that's a big problem. And to some extent, sort of the startup route and the VC route almost encourages it. You're supposed to build a very niche application and find one problem to solve, which is great, but people who buy those end up with an awful lot of these very small systems. So we deliberately want to be a bit broader than that, not just solve one problem. We want to sort of reduce the pain of having all these different applications and not being able to integrate them easily or see the data. Mainly to make it easier for founders. When I was CEO, it was incredibly hard for me to see what everyone was working on a day-to-day basis. You'd have to ask the managers to put a report together and have it available by the end of the week. And I wanted that in real time. So that's what we're really trying to do with WorkUp, is build a platform that manages your resources, your projects and your time, and you can actually do real-time management of your business without having to do lots of work, integration or customization. So that's what we're really trying to do. So it can solve the bigger problems, but it's not going to do everything a business does. We're not a CRM, we're not a finance management system, we're not a learning management system, but we're handling that end-to-end of resources, doing work, clocking time, so you can basically manage your business a whole lot better.
And you see that as you probably chat to some people to us, so if you think with HR directors or senior leaders in the business, you can see exactly, you said they've got multiple systems, or even worse, multiple spreadsheets, or just trying to control all of these things. So immediately you've lost the value of that data. It's very hard to do things. And I think your platform like ours, we've got the data in there. We know what people are doing. We know what they've done. We can see the gaps. We can see and we can bring all this together. So that helps an organisation be more performant. It helps them understand.
Ultimately, it's still about productivity, and people are building productivity applications for donkey's years, and there's still a big productivity problem. So people are still using email, still using Word and Excel, still using messaging platforms, and haven't really transformed the productivity of business. We're still using those old tools. So that's definitely our vision, is to try and really transform productivity for the smaller growing businesses.
One small example is it, right? If you look at, I've been going through some analysis, right? With my friends from Silicon Valley. So the Bing was trying to optimize, a few milliseconds faster than Google. That few milliseconds doesn't matter to the user. You know what I mean? Sometimes. But when it comes to, like 1 hour, 2 hour, many data are scattered into different systems. It's a big challenge of the industry. For a couple of fraction of seconds, doesn't matter. There is no value. But when it comes to, like 1 hour, 2 hour productivity time per day, having data in different tools, managing tasks in one tool, project management in one, and even if we try to integrate, between these tools, then the integration need to be proper, and it's not native integration. You know what I mean? Natively building a tool chain. I think there is definitely a big value when we have everything in one place, natively building it. And also, Terry, for any startups and scale-ups, Switch Pocket organization, as a final conclusion, right? What is your advice on how they can build a systematic process and transfer that knowledge to next successor? How we can make that happen? How your tool can help?
To me, it's all about knowledge. It's all about skills transfer and capabilities. And I think so. That's what we've tried to do within our platform, is look at capability gaps and try and solve the capability gap in there. So I think we need to understand what skills do people have now. What skills are they going to need in the future, and how do we close that gap? What's the right thing we put into there? So our product was very much aimed at that. Yes, we have compliance stuff people are always going to have to do, so let's do that and manage that easily. But in terms of the upskilling of people, how do we make that easy? How do we make it personalised? So one of the things you see more and more is that people nowadays want more of a personalised learning approach, almost like pathways built for them. That's what we brought the Pathway Builder into our platform. So it's looking at how you build the right kind of knowledge transfer capabilities into your products. But perhaps more importantly, we talked about data is how do you measure that? And how do you know you've achieved that? And then how do you keep that cycle of continuous development, continuous learning going? And I think that's where the products that we're talking about here can help with that. It's always going to be a continuous learning, a continuous development.
So I think we are coming to the final conclusion. So basically, what I can observe, one of my final thought process on the mindset of Silicon Valley and the other market is they are thinking global from Silicon Valley. That's one primary. The other part of the world is sometimes they won't think like US is part of their country and innovate. It's a big market as well. So we call it as a API economy, which means if you look at Google Maps, whatever tools worldwide using Google Maps, the Google is monetizing through APIs. So there is a strategy, right? Acquisition, activation, retention, referral, and then revenue, or revenue and then referral. So sometimes every startup owner deciding revenue upfront, sometimes it's not the case. Sometimes once you build that stickiness and gather that user data, obviously this strategy comes with its own challenge. You can't predict the revenue, how will you run your business? That's where the US, lot of massive funds comes into picture, where they invest like $500,000 and get 7% shares. Unlike sometimes UK-based investors, they get easily like minimum 30%. I've seen them as part of a technical due diligence. What we do, they acquire like 30%, sometimes more than 25% to have recent control, and they have their own financial director as one of the board members, right? These are some of the API economy is basically how we are discussing about integrating both platform and enhancing the value, and that was not openly connected by anyone. So one of our recent manifesto of us was even on non-commercial basis, wherever we find there is an integration can happen and create a value that should. So I think it's good to have all of you here and discuss about some of the key points. I'm sure we'll be having many other discussions as well going forward as we all grow together and create be part of the initiative of making and being a trigger to make it as next Silicon Valley, either Birmingham or Manchester, Edinburgh or any cities, right, growing cities. So and also from different background, like Terry from pure technical background running a business with strategic mindset, and Terry from strategic background having technical oversight, and Bhaskar from investment side, what is happening, and Karthik from pure engineering side on Fortune 500 experience, right? So it's a great, and thanks everyone for attending this. It's great chatting with you all. And I'm looking forward to have many more sessions with you guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Karthik.